Okay? Okay, so that's just a recap for you on what a perpendicular line is. But how could we draw our own? Well, this is where squared paper is going to help, but don't worry if you haven't got any, because the squares are on the sheets for you. This is the next slide on the flip chart. I'm actually going to put that to one side and show you how this works. But if you have got this sheet at home, I'm basically going through 1A, B and C, and then we'll come back and look at that at the end. So drawing perpendicular lines, well, let's start with one that sits on the lines that are already on the piece of paper. So if I have a line like this, and I'll just call it AB, if I want a line perpendicular to that one, I can use the squares to help me. Because these are squares and they cross, all the horizontal lines cross the vertical lines at right angles, I can use the lines to help me. So I can use any of these vertical lines that go through the line AB at a right angle. Okay, to make sure that it shows enough, do use at least 2 points on the grid, but how long you make that line doesn't actually matter, and it can be there, or it could be there, or it could be there, just going like that, okay? All of these lines are perpendicular to the line AB. So we could write AB is perpendicular to CD, AB is perpendicular to EF, and AB is perpendicular to GH. Okay? The same would work the other way round. If we start with a line that is vertical like that, we'll call it JK. We can, as long as we use the lines, we can create some perpendicular lines. It doesn't matter whether they're long or short, whether they come out both sides. Those lines are all perpendicular to the line we started with. Okay, so we could say that the line JK is perpendicular to LM. It is also perpendicular to NO, and it is also perpendicular to PQ. Nice and easy when the lines are already following the lines on the squared paper. What about this one though? Now, there's a little trick you can use to help you. I've prepared a couple of things ready. What you need to do is try to visualise the square or rectangle that the line you've got shows you the diagonal of. So if I were to turn this line into the diagonal of a square, I'll use a different colour so you can see. Let's do it in pen. I'll do it dotted because we don't really want it there forever, but I could just show you. What I have done is I've made the line, GH in this case, the diagonal of a square. I've made a little square, a little copy of that square out of card ready to show you the next bit. Okay, so we imagine it has a diagonal. You can do exactly what I've just done and make the shape if you want to with a piece of card or paper. And then if we just hold that still in this corner and rotate it 90 degrees, we'll end up with another square. Now, it's going to be quite difficult for me to do it with a ruler and show you, but I'll just go around the edge. Obviously, drawing it with a ruler would be better, but this is my new square that I've turned. If I then do a diagonal of that square, this line, we'll call it HI, is going to be perpendicular to GH. Let me show you again. So we'll do it in red this time. So we've got our line, we've made it diagonals of a square or rectangle, in this case it's a square. I've put that square on and I've rotated it. I'm going to rotate it the other way this time, and you've got to rotate it 90 degrees because remember that's what we're talking about, right angles. And although it's not precise, it will still follow the lines on your piece of paper. Okay, now if I draw a diagonal there, that line is also perpendicular to GH. Let's call that HJ. So we've just used a square and what we know about right angles and turns to draw lines that are perpendicular to a diagonal line. You might have already been able to see that one because it was going straight through the middle of all the squares on your piece of paper. What about if there's one like this? Exactly the same. So first of all, let's draw a rectangle so that our line is a diagonal. If you want to, you could pause here. If you've got some squared paper, you could have a go at drawing line NM, see how I've drawn it, and have a go at finding a perpendicular line. Or you can watch and see how I do it. Right, so I'm going to draw a rectangle around the line so that the line becomes the diagonal of my rectangle. Okay, and here's one I made earlier. I did it quite rushed, so obviously the more precise you are with cutting, the better it will be. But we'll put it over there, we'll hold it in the corner, and we'll rotate it 90 degrees. As I said, it's not perfect, but it'll give you an idea of where to draw your line. Okay. And then to make the perpendicular line, you just create a diagonal from the point where you turned the paper. So we rotated it on that point N. Okay, so NO is perpendicular to NM. Okay, so that's how you can draw your own perpendicular lines on squared paper. Let's just go back and have a quick look at the ones in the textbook then. So again, there's more than one right answer here. But if you've got a copy of this, I'd like you to stop now and have a go at that using the method I've just explained. And don't worry if you're not sure, but have a little go. And then if you unpause the video, I will show you how you might get the right answers. Okay, obviously there are multiple answers for these. I'm just showing you one example, but hopefully you've got a good understanding now of how these lines work. Now this one is a bit more tricky. I'm just going to sketch on the outline of the rectangle and then I'm just going to imagine that I've turned the rectangle. So my rectangle is 3 squares by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So my new rectangle is going to be 3 by 9. You see, I'm doing this very quickly. Hopefully you've taken a bit of care over yours. Okay, so that could be an example of a perpendicular line. Here are your tasks for today. There's quite a lot because a lot of it is recap. Have a good go at it. Make sure you're drawing your lines neatly and accurately with a ruler. And then tomorrow I'll come back with the answers.